Welcome to TellerTalk, the podcast made by storytellers for story lovers. I'm Zosima Granger, a young author who hopes to one day become an old author. And this episode, I'm joined by Jeff C. West, an author with 3 award-winning parables under his belt already, including Streetwise to Saleswise, co-authored with Bob Berg. Jeff's newest book, The Hidden Heist, written with Bill Cates, is a parable about financial intelligence that is set during a bank robbery and will be published on September 16th. Check out this trailer.
In a quiet Texas town, a routine morning at Community Savings and Loan is about to go way off script. 3 amateur bank robbers hoping to grab the cash and run get much more than they bargained for. A calm, confident man speaks up. One unlikely hostage with a sharp wit and surprising wisdom will turn a high-stakes standoff into a masterclass in money mindset and financial freedom. The Hidden Heist by Bill Cates and Jeff C. West is an irresistible tale of financial redemption. Let the Hidden Heist be your roadmap to financial freedom, because sometimes the greatest escape starts in your mind.
Before Jeff started writing books, he built a wildly successful sales career spanning 30 years and apparently played professional tuba in a Dixieland band. Now he is a pro storyteller and someone I'm very happy to call my friend. Thank you for being on TellerTalk, Jeff. Welcome.
It is an absolute honor to join you, Zosima. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to this talk because your next book is about to come out. Like we're recording this on the 2nd, so it's 2 weeks away.
That's right. 2 weeks from today, as we record this, September 16th.
Man. And for well, I read an early copy, but almost everyone else hasn't read it yet. But it's a parable about how to stop robbing yourself of lasting wealth, and I honestly loved it, and especially its lessons about saving, investing, and financial literacy. It actually changed the way I look at and handle money for the better. So I've got you and Bill to thank for that.
Well, that's music to my ears. And you really are part of our target demographic. Bill, my co-author, Bill Cates, he has had a huge following in the financial services industry, and he's helped financial advisors and financial professionals of various types. He's helped them grow their businesses through helping them with coaching them how to get referrals. Do a good job, get referrals, and that's how you grow your business. But he really wanted to branch out, and it's kind of been a passion on his heart to he wants to equip everybody to make financial decisions that are in their best interest. And his heart really is going out for that young adult demographic. We say 18 to 45. Quite frankly, even people my age should be getting it. And I'm much older. I'm Jeff version 6.6 now. So, but yeah, you're in that target demographic. I'll have to tell him what you just said. That is music to my ears.
Yeah, I was just expecting like a good parable written by you, but also I was like, whoa, this is some seriously good financial advice that I've never heard before. So I gotta start investing. And yeah, so yeah. What I really wanted to ask you about was the writing process of the Hidden Heist. What was the writing process for this book like? And which part of the final book are you most excited for readers and listeners to experience on the 16th?
Boy, that's such a great question. The writing process itself, when I'm writing with a co-author, and of my 4 books, 3 of them I've done with co-authors. When I'm doing that, the writing process is usually something where we're taking some principles that they teach in a nonfiction world, and then we're wanting it to connect with their audience in a much different way, a much more I don't know, emotional way maybe. And so what I'll do is I'll write the fiction. And you know this because we've known each other a while now. My goal in writing fiction is basically, or a parable is to write the fiction that is so strong that even if people weren't going to learn anything, they'd love the book because the story's that good. It's got twists and turns and surprises and all of that. And then my second goal with it is to write characters that are so just broadly human, so flawed and just fascinating, and do it in such a way that the reader falls in love with the character, but also that they don't teach the lessons like somebody's watching a PowerPoint. They live these lessons and they learn them and they go through that. So that's my goal. The process with Bill when I work with any co-author, that I will do a lot of interviewing with them. I'll do a lot of to find out exactly what the messages we're trying to do. Then I go into crafting, and I will always have some sort of an outline, but I don't let it handcuff me. It's there to give me some direction because I generally have a pretty good feel for the rhythm I want a book to do. I know how I want it to kind of increase and drop down a little bit, and how I want it to twist and maybe surprise the reader, that kind of thing. But I'll start with an outline, but then with me, it's research. Oh, and I did a ton of research on this one because of two reasons. Number one, I've never been in a bank robbery. And number two, the financial lessons, I have done well in most cases with my finances, but this was Bill's wheelhouse when it comes to that. And so it was a combination of trying to do all that. But doing that first draft, getting it on paper, as our mutual friend John David Mann, our mutual mentor John David Mann says, write drunk, edit sober. Now he doesn't mean that literally, although there's been a time or two I maybe took it too literally. But I'll get everything on the paper, and then I'll go when I start the editing process and the rewrite. That's when I start cutting it down. And then in the case when you have a co-author, I'll send things back and forth quite often. Usually I'll do the first three or four chapters, send that to them, and then after that I try to go into a bit of a cocoon because you can overwhelm a co-author. You and I know how many times we read our manuscripts, and that can be overwhelming for a co-author. So I try to limit that for them. But then it goes into production after that, and it's been a real joy to do this one.
Hmm. You were talking about the characters you create. This book has some great characters in it. Like not only the main mentor figure Alden, also even the all the characters who are trapped in the bank robbery, but not only that, but also the bank robbers themselves are great characters, which I was not when I came into the book. I thought, okay, they're just going to be the villains and they're just going to be the antagonists. Nope, it's it's a whole lot more. It's a whole lot more than that. And without spoiling anything, who was your favorite character in the book to write?
Oh, wow. That's hard to say in some respects because it's like, I have two children, and to try to pick a favorite is just not going to happen. I love them both equally, and I kind of feel that way about my characters too. Alden to me is that wise person that nobody really knows what's going on behind the scenes, and I enjoyed that. Oh, I enjoyed writing all the robbers. I gave them all a little different flair, including the one that I didn't do it on purpose, but now I have him at least phonetically named him after you, Carl Granger.
Yeah, you you gave the main villain my last name, dude. I was
But
like,
he's a
I,
star.
I was like, yeah, Jeff, I'm bad with money. I'm not that bad. I've only robbed a bank once, and it was by accident. So
Yeah, and you didn't mean to.
no,
And plus, those records are sealed.
yeah,
So
come on, yeah. No one's gonna watch this. No one's gonna listen to this. This is just between us. Just
exactly.
don't mention
Less
that.
than a few million people that will end up watching
I
this.
probably why did I say that? I gotta go. Jeff. I I gotta go to Mexico right now.
Yeah. But I loved writing Dylan. Dylan was basically I kind of made him I modeled Dylan's flaws after my own teenage flaws, quite frankly,
Uh,
and so that was fun to do. But my favorite character in the story is Bobby, and I can't say why, and because you've read it. The Zosimo, you'll enjoy this. Bobby's journey. I always knew where I was going to start Bobby and where I was going to finish Bobby. But the journey in between, that came as part of the rewrite process and as part of the coaching from John. And the challenge with this is because of the other things that I did in the story, I couldn't have him speaking. The reader gets Bobby's journey from his thoughts, and that makes it a little bit unique in my heart, I guess.
Yeah. 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 Bobby is probably my favorite character in the book because of his arc.
Right.
And yeah, yeah, I can't spoil too much, but
Mhm.
um and um this is probably the fifth or sixth parable I've ever read because up until a couple of years ago, I'd never read a parable. I didn't even know what a parable was except like the stories in the Bible. Like that's what I thought a parable was, and it is, but I didn't have any idea there was this whole literary genre about these like small books with lessons in them in fiction form. And so I was a newcomer to parables. The first parable I ever read was John's the Go Giver,
Right.
and then I read a few from after that. I read your book on sales, Streetwise to Saleswise, and that's my favorite of your books because it
Thank you.
yeah, it's really good. And I was wondering, for newcomers to the parable genre like me, um, what do you think are like the three best parables to read first?
Well, that's such a great question, and I will start with John David Mann and Bob Berg's book, The Go-Giver. I think that even if you're not in business, that is just such an awesome parable, and the same lessons that we learn that make us successful in business are also what will make us successful in life if we apply them there. So I love that one. So I'll put that on the top of the list. The Alchemist, and oh, I can't believe it, but the author's name is Paulo Coelho. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but The Alchemist is one. It's not, it's more of a life parable, so you don't have to be looking for anything specific on it. And the audiobook version of that, by the way, is narrated by Jeremy Irons, and it is so
Really?
good. Oh yeah, yeah. And then
Voice of
probably the
Scar?
th go ahead.
Wait, the Jeremy Irons, the voice of Scar in The Lion King. He
Oh yeah,
he does. Oh,
he's
yeah.
been in a movie or two over the years.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah, but like that's where
Right.
my kid brain just goes to, oh my gosh, it's voiced by Scar.
Yeah. And probably what I'll throw on that list is by a gentleman named Og Mandino. And before John, Og was really known as kind of the parable king. And I think now John really has that title very well. But he wrote a book that was given to me early on in my sales career, and it's called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And it's really not a sales book, it's more a life book. And then he wrote a bunch of them. He wrote one called The 12th Angel that, oh, is just incredible. But that's probably the ones I would start with is John's, The Alchemist, and then the Greatest Salesman in the World is probably where I would send someone. But the fun thing about a parable, it doesn't matter if you're learning business lessons or like in this. This one is also is my first ever venture outside a business and sales context because this one is really more of a life. Everybody in the world needs to get their finances in order. So, this is not just, okay, if you're in sales, you need this book, or if you're in business, you need this book. Everybody needs to get the hidden heist. But so it's a different thing. But a parable, if it's well done, I loved John's forward in the hidden heist because number one, John's my favorite writer anyway, and then he said really good things, and I liked that. But his opening line about that in the forward, he said, "It's easy to write a parable." Wait, scratch that.
Hold on.
It's easy to write a bad parable. To write a great parable is just so hard to do. I'm paraphrasing, but that is so true. But if you do a good job with it and you draw the readers in and they can't let go of it and they learn some things either that makes their life better or their business better, that's a good day for an author.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have I think you're gonna have a very good day on the 16th, Jeff. Because
Well,
because
from your mouth to God's ears, brother.
straight up. Oh, you mentioned you said something about uh you do a lot of research um, for your books, and I actually wanted to ask you about that because a large part of this book is a hostage negotiation, but um between a policewoman and the bank
And
robbers.
Carl,
It felt
Mr. Granger.
Mr. Granger himself, my cousin, man, yeah, 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 and and it felt extremely like it felt real. It
Good.
and so I wanted to know, like, who did you talk to and what research did you do about like hostage negotiations and bank robberies?
Oh, that's such a great question, Zosma. I interviewed a real life hostage negotiator, someone who had worked in years in law enforcement, and he and I had a couple of interviews together. It was a gold mine for an author. Number one, I would ask the intricacies. I said that wrong. Intricacies. I ask about those things. What would SWAT actually do? How would this work? Tell me the logistics behind all of it. And then I asked him some of his own stories, and he, of course, gave me permission. I used a little bit of his own flair, his own stories in the actual book, and they're some of my favorite parts. Uh, the I can't give away too many things. So, but the little part where the deputy shows up that wasn't supposed to be there beside the building, that actually
That happened?
my person that I interviewed for the hostage negotiation, that happened to him. He watched that happen. So,
Awesome.
but so did that. We also interviewed two victims of bank robbery. I interviewed one, and Bill interviewed one. Bill interviewed a lady that she just gave us such great information about what it was like to be going through that at the time. And you realize, oh, these people can be kind of scared. So how am I going to show their fear at the same time I'm writing a parable that can be a little bit intense, but I also have to keep it a little bit light. That was something I had to navigate, quite frankly. And then the character of Alden, his unique characteristics that we won't say on the show. I actually had a friend who was in the bank robbery, a victim of a bank robbery, and that was his scenario. And matter of fact, once people get the book, there'll be a thing called the Vault. That's a thing that Bill and I have put together for behind the scenes things. They can actually watch the interviews. If they bought the book and they have the link, they can watch these interviews and see where we came up with a lot of the material.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of research and it definitely shows through in the actual book because there's no part of the hidden heist which where you kind of you sit back and you're like these guys have no idea what they're talking about, like those scenes in like some books
Mhm.
where like something is said or you read something that you realize like they Googled this entire subject, like they they have no idea what they're talking about, and it just takes you completely out of the story. And that never happened in the Hidden Heist because of the research you
Well,
did. Yeah.
I take that as a huge compliment coming from you. Number one, because it's a compliment anyway, and because because you know behind the scenes what we do as a writer.
Mhm.
I do bust it really hard because I want anything I do to be very authentic. Uh, but the other reason I take it as a high compliment, Zosmo, is because I respect your writing so much, and for you to say that is a big deal. So that's a good thing.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm usually a fantasy writer, so my research, I can't really go to the places that I've made up in my head. And
I was sure you took LSD so you could go to some of these places you write about. I wasn't sure.
we don't talk about this. This is a family show, Jeff.
But I am kidding. Zosim's audience, he doesn't do that kind of thing.
I don't. Maybe I will to like make my writing better. I don't, but I think I'm good. I think I'm
If it
good.
makes you the next J.K. Rowling, no, still
I
don't
mean,
do it. Don't do it.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Yeah. The research I do for my books is really just I I just read books that are better than mine. Like I because I grew up on things like Harry Potter and Chronicles of Narnia
Hmm.
and Lord of the Rings, and those things are like stuff like the Chronicles of Narnia. It's so
Oh yeah.
good that it's still in print today, almost 100 years after it was published. Like um, my um, my favorite Narnia book, The Horse and His Boy, was published in 1954. It's almost 75 years old, and
Right.
it's
And it's
still in
still
print.
good.
And yeah, and it's still fantastic. And um that's what I want to someday be able to do is write a book so good to it's especially write a novel so good that it will be being it will be it will still be read in like a century.
Oh yeah. And
That's
even maybe taught as an assignment in high schools and colleges.
I mean maybe yeah
Yeah.
or I um though actually the first piece of writing advice I ever received was from my dad, and I think I was like 8, and he told me that if a book you write only changes one person's life, it was entirely worth it.
Right.
And so I have like huge dreams for my writing career. I have I have I have crazy dreams for what I want to do with this, but if the books I write just like improve one person's life or like brings meaning to one person's life, I feel like it was all worth it.
I
Um,
agree.
I really
I
hope
agree.
more than one person reads my books though. That is a hope of mine that that more than one person. But we'll see.
Well, every book you write, I'll promise you, you're going to sell copies because everybody I know that knows you is going to get a copy, including me. So
Thank you, Jeff.
I don't know if that means enough to an agent yet, but that's good though. But we love once people know you, they love you. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to build on that.
right.
Oh, oh, the something in the Hidden Heist definitely surprised me because I haven't read a lot of parables, but the parables I have read don't usually have plot twists that make me say out loud, "What?" But this,
Yes.
but 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 this one does, and I can't spoil it, but
Right.
you know what I'm talking about in the middle.
I do.
Yeah, and um and like to you as an author, what makes a good plot twist?
Oh
What
gosh,
makes
that's such a
a good plot twist in a book?
that's such a good question. And sometimes when I do a plot twist, it's planned ahead of time. That particular plot twist, I knew what I was going to do when I started the book. Oh, by the way, when John read the manuscript, when I sent it to him for that first read he does with all of us, but that's really kind of like a developmental editor's work. He sent me a text that night and said, "Did not see that coming." I went, "Score!"
Yeah, that's high praise. Jeez.
Yeah, I was excited, but with plot twists would be how I develop them. Sometimes it's just being observant in the world around me and thinking about things. Um, it's it it is sometimes planned. Like I also planned in Streetwise to Saleswise, the scene where Livia is basically giving Thaddeus a very stern lecture about something he did. I knew what I was going to do with that from the very beginning of the two as I began to work on it. But what I look for to do a plot twist is I look number one for something that would surprise me, and then I also look at it I guess kind of like good comedy. Like there's a lot of comedy in the Hidden Heist, and there's a great book on comedy. It's written by Steve Martin, and it teaches you some things about rhythm and how to do certain things. But sometimes the comedic element or the plot twist is you're thinking along a list of things, three, four things, whatever, and then the last one you turn it completely different. You say, okay, what if I had to do that completely different? And so I'll brainstorm that way. But I have to say, some of them, I think it's divine intervention in my writing because when I get to some of that and I'm writing and I think, I just look up and go, thank you, because I know that I'm not smart enough to come up with some of these.
Yeah, they just come from the infinite. It's this, yeah, like you and I both know the feeling of when we're kind of in the zone writing, and
Absolutely.
we feel and it's like this doesn't really feel like it's coming from me. Like it's coming through me,
Right.
but it's not me, and it's kind of scary, but it's also kind of great to
Well,
have this connection.
oh, that's one of the most fun things. John taught you and I early on that you have to trust the story, and sometimes you have to let the story take over. And when you're in that zone that you're talking about and you're writing, it's almost like for me anyway, it's almost like I'm seeing. I'm a very visual person. It's almost like I'm seeing it in my head, in the movie of my mind, and I'm thinking, okay, what's happening next? And sometimes I'm not even looking at the keyboard. I have no, and I'm not always the best typist. It's, so I'll be going along and just kind of letting it happen and seeing where it's going. And then I'll look back and I'll correct little things if autocorrect didn't catch it.
Yeah,
But
those
it's
divine
it
pose.
yeah, it's that those moments are that's why we do it. Two reasons. Number one, like you said, is because if you make a difference in one person's life, it's worth it. But the other is to be a part of the process, the conduit where that story comes to life, because it's there waiting on us.
Yeah. Yeah, um I I wish I could say that the reason I I write is a selfless desire to help people. I'm afraid it's just because I adore creating stories, and it's the the feeling of writing fiction is, yeah, I've never found something I enjoy more, and I'm um f- uh forgive my lack of seemly modesty. I'm pretty good at it,
You
and
really are.
and and so that's why I've like applied so much time to it, is is because like this is what I want to do with my entire life,
Right.
is just make
And
books.
when you do that, those Osma, I think you are helping people. And I'll tell you why I say that. I met an actor one time who's somebody that I have a lot of respect for. And I just said, I want to thank you because I've enjoyed so much I've had so many hours that I've enjoyed my life, my children, enjoyed it together. I will tell you, I think that what you do creatively that brings that kind of personal enjoyment to people, that is a good thing. It's not necessarily altruistic, but I think it's pretty darn close. And granted, we want to create because you and I are both creative souls. That's what we want to do. And we want to make a boatload of money doing it someday. I get that too. But uh, I think your contribution is greater than you know.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, that means a lot coming from you.
My
Uh,
pleasure.
yeah. Oh, yeah, we talked about like what makes a good plot twist, but do you have any favorite plot twists from fiction or media, or like what are some of
I
your
can't recall necessarily a specific plot twist, but I will tell you, I love it when a book or a movie surprises me, or even a TV show. When someone can surprise me and I don't see that coming, oh, it's like gold. And I'll stop if my wife Laurie and I are watching it on streaming a movie or something like that, I'll stop it and say, I didn't see that coming. I loved that. I'll tell you one of my favorite things like that, and it's kind of a combination of something I didn't see coming, but also just one of my favorite lines in a book is in John David Mann's third novel, the Blind Fear. There's a scene in there where the character Finn, I know you know this because you've read the book, but the character Finn, a bad guy's kind of got the drop on him. And John had sent me an early copy of the book, and I was reading it on my phone, sitting at a cigar shop in Houston, Texas, having a little whiskey outside on the patio and smoking a cigar. I know it's a bad habit. God forgive me. All right. But the but I'm reading this line, and in this yard or this patio, I go, yes, like this. And John had written the line, and it was, I don't remember the exact verbiage, I'll be paraphrasing here, but he was talking about the bad guy had the drop on Finn, and he said, and he stuck the gun in his face so close he could touch it. So Finn touched it. And then Finn dismantles the whole situation. But I thought that line, he got it so close that Finn could touch it. And the next line, so he touched it. I just loved that line. I sent John a text. I sent the line to him, and I just said, I love this line. This may be my favorite line. It can't be my favorite line that he's ever written, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's in like like in the top 10, maybe
Hmm.
top three. Yeah. Yeah, there's those I love those moments in books um, where you can't contain the noise that
Yes.
like you have to say something like, are you guys seeing this? Have you read this? No? Come read it. Because like the same thing happened to me when I read this this murder mystery by Agatha Christie. It's called The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, and the plot twist in like the final two pages was was so incredible that I literally sh I stood up in my living room and started jumping up and down, going, no, 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 no. It was so like it was one of those plot twists that it it felt it was completely out of nowhere, but the reason I started jumping up and down was it completely changed um the the my perspective on the entire book.
Right.
And so it wasn't like a cheap twist that like wasn't built up to. The entire book built up to it, but I just didn't know that until I read this, and it was so yeah, those parts in books are the best.
That the time travel novel that I'm working on,
Yeah.
it's going to be um, hopefully if I'm good at my craft, that's what you'll find in that too.
Yes. Yeah, I mean I've been hearing about this time travel book for like 2 years, and I gotta read this, man. Yeah,
I got to write it first.
I mean, yeah,
I've got this is one of those books I've written the
the
first
process.
chapters on. I know the end. I've got the entire story arc. I know what I'm going to do. But every time I start to do that, somebody else will contract with me to do a parable with them, and I'm going, well, I need to get that.
Oh
So,
man, you're too popular, Jeff. Jeez, you need to start burning bridges so you can write your book. Just like become horribly unlikable for at least a year, so you can just like get this thing out and then just start rebuilding your bridges. Like I'll help. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm a carpenter.
I I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Um. Oh, so there will be an audiobook of The Hidden Heist, right? And
It is actually it
and
is actually out.
it's out already.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we haven't publicized that. And what day are you going to air this episode? Is it going to
this is
be close
probably
to the
gonna
16th?
be I'll do it like the day before or like a couple days before. So like right
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, that'll be fine. But as soon as your listeners see this, the audiobook is sitting there now. Here's the interesting thing. When you're working with Audible, sometimes uh, trying to get it scheduled for a certain date, they're not always the easiest to make that happen with. So it's actually out and it is so awesome. The guy that we hired to do the audiobook is actually the same voice actor that did John's three novels, Steel Fear, Cold Fear, and Blind Fear. It's Jonathan McLean. And see, this is a very dialogue heavy book. And I've got repartee and funny stuff going on back and forth in the vault with people and and some male, some female. I knew it was beyond my ability. And I'm pretty good at doing audiobooks of my own. But in this particular case, Bill made the final call on it, but we hired Jonathan McLean.
Mm,
And he, of course, those of your followers that may not know him yet, if you need to get John David Mann's books on audio, and you'll know the
yeah.
guy. But he has been in movies, but he's done over 100 audiobooks and won awards for his audiobooks. He has freaking incredible in this book. I love it.
Oh man, yeah, I've because I kind of thought that you would narrate it because you narrated Streetwise to Saleswise really well.
Thank
Um,
you.
but geez, yeah, if like you've got like a the- like a pro narrator for the Hidden Heist. So
Yeah.
one more reason to
Yeah.
get the Audible of it.
Yeah.
Do
It's strong. I'm very pleased with his work.
mhm.
He also on our trailer that you played at the beginning of your episode, he's the voiceover for the trailer as well.
Oh. Oh yeah, I kind of assumed that like, oh, that must be Bill or something, but
It was Jonathan McLean,
Jonathan McLean. Wow.
which is the same name, by the way, as the main character in the Die Hard movies. His name was
Oh,
John McLean.
oh,
So
okay.
I'm telling everybody, well, we hired Jonathan McLean. If they think it's Bruce Willis, so be it.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, maybe he can do like a Bruce Willis impression for like the, for like the next edition of the book so you can like make it a little more like that.
There we go.
Yeah. Speaking of Die Hard, well, Die Hard has probably one of the best movie villains ever with Hans. It's Hans Gruber. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was thinking about villains because I am slightly miffed that you did give the villain of the Hidden Heist my last name, different spelling, but still it kind of hurt. I was like, oh, that I did not know. But I were do you have any uh, when you're writing a villain, do you have
Mhm.
any favorite villains from fiction that you like to like call upon?
Oh, I don't know that I call upon them, but I love when people are villains, and then especially if you find out later they're not such a villain. You mentioned the Die Hard movie, Hans Gruber. The actor who played him was Alan Rickman, I think, if I remember the name correctly. He also played one of the villainous wizards in the Harry Potter series. And I forget the name of the
Snake.
character now, but I loved the way he portrayed that.
Mhm.
And so, I probably breathe in a lot of the different characters. I don't know that any one inspires me. And sometimes I probably go a little bit internal and think of all my flaws and I'll throw those into them. So,
So like your villains are like self-doubt and um yeah, imposter syndrome. Like the vast villains of that. Yeah. I was thinking parables. Um, I haven't read a lot of them, but I've read a lot of great ones like the Go-Giver and the Alchemist and Who Moved My Cheese and like those like
right.
heavy hitters and I saw that parables are like well known for having short memorable lines to like really hammer home the knowledge they're
Right.
imparting and and the Hidden Heist has those in spades, but it also has just great storylines. Like, if you don't mind, I'll because like one of them is what did I miss at a guess most of high school, and uh, and and the line by um Dylan who's talking to one of the bank robbers and is like, dude, are you seriously hitting on the teller of the bank you're currently robbing? Uh, and my all-time favorite line from the entire book is, you can fix ignorance with knowledge, but dumbass may be permanent. And, and that
That's
and
that's
yeah,
that's my co-author's favorite line too.
yeah, come on. Yeah, that was a laugh out loud line. Um, yeah, and there was this the I also really enjoyed Alden's that phrase that he repeats whenever he hears a stereotype like some are, most aren't. Like women
Right.
are bad drivers. Some are, most aren't. Men are bad with money. Some are, most aren't. Authors are really attractive. Some are, most aren't. We're the exceptions. We're the exception.
We're the exception
Oh
on
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. Look at us. Come on. But most, ugh, come on. Yeah. Um, but Jeff, what are some of like outside of your own books,
Mhm.
what are some of your favorite like stick in your head lines from fiction?
Um, John's that we talked about a minute ago about with Finn, he got the guy getting the gun. He got the gun so close Finn could touch it, so he touched it. That's probably in the top 10. One of them is actually not from a book; it's from a movie, and it's called Silverado. It was a Western. It's probably 30 or 40 years old now. It was the first movie that I saw um, Kevin Costner in. And it's a Western. And there's a scene in there. It's got a great cast. It's got Danny Glover. It's got Kevin Costner. It's got Scott Glenn. It's just a great cast. And it's got the typical Western, good guys against bad guys. And I love things like that. But there's a line in that movie delivered by Danny Glover. And Scott Glenn is on the ground, and a bad guy has his Colt 45 cocked, and he's ready to kill Scott Glenn, who's one of our main guys, good guys. And Danny Glover shoots the gun out of his hand and recocks that Henry rifle, and he says the best common sense movie line ever. He says, "I don't want to kill you, and you don't want to be dead." That's a win-win situation when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I've
Uh,
never, yeah, I've never watched that movie, but now I've got to. Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
stream it, find it somewhere. It's a good movie. You'll enjoy it. But I love practically everything Michael Connelly writes, and so there's a lot of little things in the Bosch series or the Lincoln Lawyer series that I just love. And then now he started a series of books based on a character named Renee Ballard, and we've not only have I read all the books, listened to them, and watched the series on Amazon. So a lot of his things there, but those are the two that stick out mostly in my mind right now.
yeah. Speaking of westerns, did you ever see the original Magnificent Seven with a Yul Brynner? Um,
Absolutely, I did.
it's,
Yeah.
the like that movie is just full of iconic lines, but the one that isn't really mentioned that I love so much is when one of the Magnificent Seven is he's they like killed a bunch of the bandits, but one of them got onto a horse and is riding away to warn the rest of the bandits, and the and the guy like aims at his back. He's like a mile away, and he fires, and the guy falls off his horse, and 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 this young kid goes, "Oh man, that was the greatest shot I've ever seen in my life." And the guy who did it um, said, "I was aiming for his horse." And I was like, "Oh man." I was like, "Oh great, oh man."
Well, there's a John Wayne movie, and I'm drawing a blank on the title, but it's John Wayne and Kirk Douglas in the movie. And Kirk Douglas has been hired to kill John Wayne, but he likes John Wayne. He doesn't want to do it, so he keeps teasing back and forth if he's going to take that contract or not. And but there's a scene in there where there are two bad guys that work for the main bad guy. They're thinking, well, we'll just take him out. Bruce Dern plays one of the bad guys in this one. And they're thinking, well, we'll just turn around and take them out ourselves. So they turn around to shoot John Wayne. Well, at the same time, John Wayne and Kirk Douglas both draw, and they drop the bad guys. They're on the ground, one shot. And Kirk Douglas looked at John Wayne and he said, "Mine hit the ground first." And John Wayne says, "Yeah, but mine was taller." I love writing like that. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, those like yeah, those oh man. Yeah, those it's like the Western lines like that. I forget which Clint Eastwood movie it was from, but Clint Eastwood is talking to a guy who's been paid to kill him, and the guy says, and Clint says, so you're a hired killer, and the guy says, gotta make a living somehow, and Clint Eastwood said, dying ain't much of a living, boy. And then,
That's right.
I was like, oh
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, that was great. Mm. Back to books instead of westerns, unfortunately. Well, yeah, there. I wanted to ask you, which authors do you think shaped you most as a writer?
That would be easily be in my case, John David Mann, and Augmendino, because I fell in love with the parable genre. And so those were the two people that I held in the highest esteem, I guess, as far as writing parables go. So they definitely influenced me the most.
Mm. And and um and those are and well, I know John's still alive. Is Augmendingo still alive? He's
No, he's passed away several years ago.
he's passed. Um, do you have like three like which three dead authors would you most want to have dinner with? Like I ask all of my guests this one question because it's just such a fun question.
Well, I think that's the first time I've ever been asked that question, so it's very original. And I probably need a little clarification. You're talking about having dinner with them where they are now, or like we could go to dinner at
Yeah,
Steak and Shake or something. All
because like we're not really sure where they are now. Let's say
right.
like they can yeah just if you could like have dinner with if like you could go back in time and have dinner with them anywhere just to talk with them who would you
Augmendino would definitely be on the list for sure.
okay
And then I love crime fiction and I love military things. So I would probably throw Vince Flynn into that mix. I don't know if you're familiar with Vince. He
Mhm.
wrote a series of books featuring the same character, which is a very wise thing to do as an author if you're good, because then everybody wants the next one. They want to know what happens. But he wrote a series of books, and the main character, uh, oh gosh, and now I'm drawing a blank. I should holler in my wife would. Oh, Mitch Rapp. The main character's name is Mitch Rapp. So Vince Flynn would be one. Probably Tom Clancy because I always loved his writing too. It's just I like that military genre. Um, I like crime fiction. Uh, I, I, so that's a bit, but I would definitely I would love to sit down with Og Mandino for sure.
Hmm. So Abednego he wrote his book was the first parable you ever read that like brought
It
you into
was.
this
It
genre.
was. It was called The Greatest Salesman in the World, and then he went on to write, oh gosh, tons of them. I can't remember how many. I'm sure I've read them all over the years because the first one I read would have been in the 80s. That's how long ago. But uh, one of my favorite ones was called The 12th Angel, and it was one of his later works, and it was different, and it had such emotion written into it. I loved that, and that's one thing I try to do in my works. Every book that I've written, all four of them, there's a moment in there that I want the reader to tear up at some point. And when I go back and read them, I still tear up when I get to those points. In the Hidden Heist, it was the final scene before the epilogue, and when it was just I want the reader to get I want the reader to remember they read that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if if your books don't make you cry, then they're not going to make your readers cry. Like
Absolutely,
we
absolutely.
yeah, there's a I'm going through a rewrite of my first novel, Haley's Horizon.
Hmm.
I'm planning on publishing next year, and
Good. That's a
there's
great book.
thank you. Yeah, and I'm trying to um I kind of I put it on a mental back burner for like a year, and
Hmm.
I gave it some space, and then I came back to it, and I fell back in love with it. But I also realized there was a little too much, like it could lose like 100 pages and probably be better because of like the expedited story. But there
Right.
are some parts where I just can't I um that I can't change because um, I I guess I love them too much, and
Right.
I think that my readers will love them, and I'm like, okay, okay, what do I have to do to keep this scene? Because
Right.
there's a scene in um, right before the climax that made me it didn't make me tear up when I wrote it. It made me weep when I wrote it.
Yeah.
And it's still I I sometimes like go back to it and I'm like, am I gonna be able to read through this without crying? Nope. Every like every time I read it because it's like I think George R. Martin said you have to write what you know,
Yeah.
and my novel is a fantasy novel. Like I don't I don't know magic. I don't know
Right.
alternate worlds, but the um, but but the core of the story is a older brother's relationship with his younger brother.
Right.
And I have a lot of experience with fraternal relations, and and that scene is kind of the climax of of this arc that's been through the entire book. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to like finishing that and getting it out so other people can experience it, so I can see what they like how they experience it, because like I think because you've read the book, and John's read it, and a few others have read it, and I can remember John told me that his reaction to that scene was similar to my reaction when I wrote it, which I was like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, that the whole rewrite process that we go through when we're writing a book, I liken that to a chef creating a good sauce. Because when a chef's creating a sauce, they'll put the fat in there, butter, whatever they're using, olive oil. They'll put the different ingredients in. They'll put the seasoning. They'll put all the mix in, and then on low heat, they just keep stirring it, and they keep moving it around low heat, and it takes some of the liquid out, and it keeps reducing, and it reduces, and it reduces, and it intensifies the flavors. Well, that's what we go through in the rewrite process. We take what is the first draft, which is there, and it's got the story, and the story is good. But then as we go through that rewrite process, we're bringing it down, we're condensing it, we're doing certain things to it. So that's one of the balances we deal with. The other is when you know that it's good, you got to trust your gut. And we had some back and forth a little bit between the editors and myself on the Hidden Heist, because it was very important to me to not let the storyline get so intense that the lessons were missed. And the only way I could do that was to bring out the humor. And when people tell me that they've read it and they started laughing, and it's laugh out loud kind of humor for them, that's good. That is a good feeling in me because that's what I wanted. But with the editor was saying that didn't exactly fit in a bank robbery. And I said, "You're not understanding what I'm going for here." And there was a lot of back and forth. And the final call was mine. And I said, "Look, some of the characters, I'm thinking of Dylan as one of them. Their smart ass ability is what brings the humor in there, and we have to keep that there." And so as you're doing this with Haley's Horizon, which is a fantastic book, I can't wait for you to get that out, because there's so many people. You know what we'll do? We'll all go into high gear, making sure the people that we know about the book. I'm not even a connoisseur so much of the fantasy genre like that, and I loved your book. So if it can take somebody like me that normally doesn't read in that genre and pull me in, it's a strong book. And like I say, young man, I've told you this in the past when we weren't recording, that your career is going to be big, and I'm going to enjoy watching it.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, yeah, um I don't think that um I didn't realize how long my first novel would take because I started it about 2 years ago, and it took me a year to finish the what I thought was the final draft.
Right,
And that was actually like this and now I think the current draft I'm on is number 8, and I
right,
think that is the last one because the um the book has like changed a lot and I think improved a lot. And now I have a fantastic illustrator
good,
who is going to put in some excellent illustrations and probably also do the cover. And I feel like that's like the last thing I was waiting for was
right,
a because like the best fantasy books really need to have illustrations and like maps, um,
right,
like Narnia and Lord of the Rings and Redwall. Like they need that visual magic.
right.
Um,
Well,
and
it took me from first discussions about the concept until book launch on the Hidden Heist was almost 2 years. It's probably I'd have to go back and look at the calendar. It's at least 18 months. And because when in the rewrite process, when I sent it to John, and we sent it out to a couple of beta readers to look at and all that, feedback was overwhelmingly positive. But there was something that John and one beta reader thought that I did a major rewrite on the Hidden Heist. Uh, the you'll understand this because of what you do. The I probably said this earlier, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but the story arc with Bobby, I knew the beginning and I knew the end, and originally that's all I had in the story, and I let everything else play out outside that. But everything I did with Bobby, the story arc, was in a rewrite, and that was a major rewrite, but it was so worth it because Bobby's story is one of the reasons the book's so darn good, you know?
yeah, because Bobby's pretty much the protagonist. Like,
Mhm.
um, and
Yeah.
so yeah, that must have been a major rewrite if you had to like rewrite basically the main character's arc.
Yeah, because there was no arc in the beginning because I had well I knew what I was going to teach. I knew how I was going to have Alden and the different characters in the vault. Basically, the characters in the vault each represent a money mindset that's wrong, and I wanted to play that out in their context. And I knew how I was going to end the story with Bobby, and so all of that being said, it was like bookends with Bobby. There really wasn't anything much in between other than his physical actions. And uh, how I handled that in the book, uh, giving Bobby a story arc when he really doesn't say very many words, that became a challenge that I just dove into like it was a good steak, and I loved it. And John, after you know how John works. For those that are watching this, John is our writing coach and a mentor and a friend, but he also, in the part of his class, Writing Mastery Mentorship, he he basically gives us a pretty darn close simulation of what a developmental editor would do. Story arcs, big picture, small picture, and he does just a tremendous job. And when he gave me some feedback on some things he thought maybe we could be a little stronger on, I went into the woodshed, and it definitely took me longer because of that. But this book it's it would not be the same book without that. And Bill's really, it's fun to watch my co-author, Bill Cates. He, uh, he has just been so excited and hearing him telling different people about the book and just kind of watching his relationship with me. It's just been so much fun to see that. And Bill is roughly my age, a little older, a little younger, but roughly my age. And to what he's like, it's almost like he's a child at times with this. He's so giddy about it, and that as far as the part of me that wants to co-author with people, that's a good thing. I enjoy that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Like, well, like 18 months of like grind and work and imagination and build up, and it's almost here. Like, yeah, September 6th, 16th. It's just a few days away. Like, that must be an amazing feeling to like
It
finally
is.
it's here. Man.
And you want to take a big sigh and you want to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage and celebrate. And I'm doing all of that. But also in the back of my mind, you know me. I'm already going, okay, now with the book with Susan Sullivan, how am I going to play this with the mentor? I'm going to do that. So yes, the book launch is in gear, and yes, all the emails go out when they're supposed to go out, and we're sharing like crazy on social media. Our launch team is sharing like crazy on social media. Uh, and I'm enjoying every moment of that, and the things that are happening in the mix. But also in the back of my mind, okay, I'm already working on this, and then also on the novel, I've really got to get time to spend the drafting time, because the where my parables might run 30 or 35,000 words, the novel's got to run at least 60, so it's twice the effort.
Yeah.
And so but the storyline, I remember when the first day I ever met John, we were having lunch in Waco, Texas. He was coming in for a book signing at a bookstore in Waco. I think it may have been Steel Fear. I think it was.
I think it
But
Blind Fear, wasn't it? Because
maybe
I
he
think
came twice. He came
okay,
twice.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, because he did Blind Fear, and it was either Steel Fear or Cold Fear, because he came to that same bookstore in Waco twice. But the first time that I got to meet John in person was there. We had lunch at a place in Waco, and I told him the story arc for the novel. And I watched the man. He was excited for me, and he really wants me to spend the time because he wants that story to come to life. So
Yeah. So that's the next book you're going to be concentrating on?
yeah, I'm dividing time between a novel and the time travel novel and a parable that I promised that I would do with Susan Solovic. And the
Yeah.
parable is going to be a younger lady who just graduated from college, who's finding things are tougher than she expected. And then she meets a mentor that's a woman that's middle age or better, that is going to take her under wing. That's how I'll do that one. So, in the time travel novel, the log line is: a devoted father struggles to save his daughter's future before time rips them apart forever.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah. I've read a couple of excerpts that
Right.
of him like being pulled back through time unintentionally, and oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to reading that in its entirety when it's
Me too.
yeah, I mean, yeah, we're in the same boat. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we are coming to the end of the episode, unfortunately, because I've enjoyed having this conversation with you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming to talk about your new books and your future books and and all the stories in between.
No, it's been an honor, and you know how I hold you in very high esteem, and it's been fun for me as well. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and guys, don't forget that the Hidden Heist will be out on September 16th, and get you guys a copy because it is well worth the read. Jeff, until the next time, um, have a good night.
Thanks, Osman. Enjoyed it.